Hello, welcome to Topic Tuesday with Alan Dembski and Juliana Jansen from Buffalo First Wealth Management. We wrapped up our series on Social Security, and now that summer's coming to the end, and people generally spend more money in the summer, I think, by going out, doing more beach stuff, vacations, things of that nature. I thought it was a good idea that we touch on some topics about spending pitfalls that people fall into in the, would it be called the Ides of Summer now? Or is that not the right
I,
term?
I can never remember that. I just know the Ides of March. That's
Ides of
all I
March,
know.
Ides of Summer, it's all the same, but the summer's coming down. But as we're wrapping up with some financial plans and we talk to people about their planning experience, everything is really contingent on spending, whether it's monthly or annually. It all comes full circle when we start talking about spending. And one of the recent studies I just seen is the Fed has decreased interest rates and inflation numbers are starting to come in, is how that inflation has been rising and wage growth has not been keeping up with that over the last 4 or 5 years. That gap is starting to narrow, though, a little bit based on our recent survey. But as people are spending more, is it really necessarily their wages keeping up with that spending? So we're going to talk about a couple of those things today, and hopefully people can get a couple tidbits out of our latest video here. I'm going to turn it over to you to talk about budgeting and or spending plans, as most people like to call it, or we
Yeah,
do
cash flow analysis. People really hate the word budget. They think of it as being restrictive, but so we can call it a spending plan, we can call it a cash flow analysis, but really at the end of the day, it really does provide freedom. When you set this up, you set guardrails up so that you're not going blindly into your spending. Because what we see with clients is when you don't set up a spending plan or a cash flow analysis or a budget, you end up blinking and 10 or 20 or 30 years have gone by, and the decisions that you made blindly without really having a plan end up coming back to haunt you. So we feel, spending is an emotional topic. Talk to any couple, most couples, and start talking about spending, and you'll definitely have a robust conversation because rarely are both spouses on the same plane as far as how their spending should go. So setting up a spending plan can take some of the emotion out of it, take some of the disagreement out of it. And the spending plan should be set up based on what your long-term goals are. What do you want the house you want to buy to look like? What do you want, how do you want to support your kids, or do you want to support your kids in their education goals? What do you want your retirement to look like? Those should be the things that actually drive your spending today. Your down the road goals will actually spend your drive your spending today. And, by doing this, you're basically going to prevent yourself from the pitfall. So the first pitfall is not setting up a spending plan. And the second pitfall is spending beyond your means. But if you don't really know what your means are, it's really difficult to figure out what your spending should be. And that's when we find a lot of clients have a lot of confusion, a lot of angst, and in some cases, for couples, some disagreements.
Yeah, we were just talking about it in preparation for the meeting is the whole social media keeping up with the Joneses type scenarios that go along with that. But another thing is failing to save for emergencies or large purchases. Recently, we've had several phone calls on, hey, can I take money out of my retirement account to purchase whatever it might be? And our first thought is, were you not planning for this? Were you just, hey, I have money in a retirement account, I could just take that out without thinking about all the ramifications that come around along with doing that? Not possibly some inverse tax consequences. But if you really have a small retirement account and you have to take 50% of that to buy something, you probably shouldn't buy it. And in most people's opinions, I would say. I mean, I'm sure there's cases where buying something and using that may make sense, but the majority of the time, it really doesn't make sense Especially like what you just said is, what's your goals? Like if it is to buy a house or a car, how long do I have? Can I start planning today for that rather than saying, oh, well, I have money in a retirement account. That's what the retirement account's earmarked for, is your retirement goal. If it's a house goal, a car goal, an education goal, start planning for that now and having an emergency account if, God forbid, that water heater breaks or I need some new shingles on the roof because we had a storm. You know, understanding what things potentially could happen based on the things that I'm doing today.
Yeah, and I think that um, by setting up the emergency plan, one of the things when we meet with clients, we have very detailed conversations, not just about, how much do you have in this account, but how much you have in that account. Those conversations that we have with clients are crucial because we want to know how they live their lives, what's important to them, what do they spend their time on, because your values are going to drive what your spending should be. So we really try to help our clients sort that out because it is emotional and we want to try to take the emotion out of it. And another thing that comes up with our clients is, I'm not a big fan of social media. I try to be on it as little as possible, but there are so many. Social media is such a minefield of spending temptations, whether it's the cool product that they've targeted just for you because their algorithms are extremely effective, or you're seeing what your friends are doing and they got a new car and you want to get a new car. So again, it goes back to the spending plan. One thing we're not here to do is make judgment calls or value judgments. We really like to let our clients drive the train on what their spending should be. But what we do for our clients is we remind them, hey, you have this long-term goal. You said you wanted to retire by 62. Is that still your goal? Because, we can make adjustments to your plan according to the spending that you want to do, but it is going to affect your long-term goal. So it all ties back together, and really the first step is getting a handle on it so that you can make the best decisions for yourself and your family.
Well, yeah, a lot of times clients are afraid to talk about it because they think that we are going to judge or tell them they can't do something. Our job is really, if you want to do something, our job is to help you do it. Because at the end of the day, it's not our money, it's your money, but we're going to give you all the pros and cons to, if you did this, what would happen? If you did that, what would happen? Those types of things. And speaking of social media, I mean, TikTok shop now, anytime you're on TikTok, everyone's pitching their products and they get paid every time you click on their link and you buy something on TikTok shop. Or, I'm starting to go off a little tangent there, but I will stop. But vacation goals. We had one client come in and said, my goal is to spend $20,000 a year on vacations. Okay, let's figure out how we can do that when you retire or when you get close to retirement. So those are, at the end of the day, in a nutshell, like where are we spending? What are we spending on? Or what do we want to do later on and then come up with the plan, the goal, or not the goal, but the roadmap on how to achieve that.
Definitely. Yeah. And that's what we love to do.
Absolutely. So Topic Tuesday today was all on spending pitfalls, and follow us for more on social media, whether it's YouTube, which this will be posted to YouTube, and our Facebook page, and also LinkedIn. If you have any questions, you can certainly reach out to us. And these are our personal opinions, not the opinions of anyone else but us, as a little disclaimer there as we wrap this up. Thank you very much, and we will see you next time.